I'm going to show you something that won't be on your exam, but this is someone else's rat that I went deep into show the abdominal wall, because we talked about that in class. So here's the external abdominal oblique. Here is the tendon over the rectus abdominis, linea alba. And you can see here, I peeled away a little bit of the linea alba to show you the fiber pattern of the rectus abdominis. Here, we have different muscles. Peeling back the external abdominal oblique and internal abdominal oblique. That's how thin these two muscles are. This looks like one muscle, but it's actually external and internal abdominal oblique. So on this side, I peeled back just the external. Here we see the internal with the fibers running at a 45-degree angle, but perpendicular to the external abdominal oblique. And then here we have our transversus abdominis, but the fibers aren't quite at a 90-degree angle as they should be. Things are named in humans first. All right, so that's the muscles. They won't be on your exam. I just thought you'd want to see them. All right, let's take a look at this. Beginning with the head and neck. So here we can see our masseters. That's an obvious one for action, right? Mastication would work. Close the mouth. Here we have our digastric, which is the antagonist of the masseter. The digastric being involved in opening the mouth, right? Depressing the mandible. Easy way to remember it, when someone opens their mouth, you can be depressed because they're going to start talking. Right along the midline here, we have a pair of muscles that run from the manubrium up to the hyoid, sternohyoids. Here next to them, we have V-shaped arrangement of muscles running from the manubrium to the mastoid of the skull, called sternomastoid. Now to the side, we have this muscle here, which is the clavotrapezius. Now working on the front here still, we have our pectoralis superficialis, pectoralis profundus, and then here, of course, we have our, well, really not well defined. Let's see if it's better over here. There we go. There's our serratus ventralis. On the arm, we can see here with this blood vessel showing it really nicely, the acromiodeltoid. We can see our nice little round biceps brachii, which is homologous to what muscle in your mud puppy? Very good, the humeral antebrachialis. Here's the epitrochlearis. And now we get to the forearm muscles, some of them. And they're kind of concerning because they're so tiny and there seems like there's a lot of them. But use landmarks as you go. Ventral, pronators and flexors. Dorsal, extensors. Radial side, ulnar side. So our first little muscle is short looking because it doesn't have to run the full length of the forearm to cause movement. That's the pronator teres, because it causes pronation. Next to it, flexor carpi radialis. The dominant muscle, not dominant, but kind of dominates your field of view here with its nice oblong shape, is palmaris longus. And now we're on the ulnar side, so flexor carpi ulnaris. So for the ventral forearm, it goes PF, PF, if that helps. And then of course here we have our extensor group, just like your own forearm. You've got extensors and flexors, so same thing. All right, staying on the ventral aspect as we work our way along, obviously external abdominal oblique. We come down here, and we see this muscle kind of running at an angle. That's our pectineus, mostly gracilis, gluteus superficialis. Might see a little bit of semitendinosus underneath here, but that's more of a deep muscle and wasn't separated out anyways. In the front here, we have our tibialis anterior. Here's our tibia. Pulling up on this a bit, should be able to see right back here our gastrocnemius, and underneath it, the soleus, having a different fiber pattern. And then, of course, again, here's our tibia. So the muscle in front of it, tibialis anterior. The one behind it is the flexor of the foot's digit, so flexor digitorum longus. And behind it, right on the tibia, tibialis posterior. So we had in tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, tibialis anterior, and then over here, we'll see our extensor digitorum longus. And then behind that, the peroneus longus, again, there's our gastrocnemius, and underneath it, the soleus. Here we can see our biceps femoris, nice big muscle. Gluteus superficialis, which sounds like an insult. sternal-abdominal oblique. Here's our spinotrapezius, and of course it sits on top of latissimus dorsi, right? Spinotrapezius, acromiotrapezius coming up, temporalis, and then looking at the little rat arm, we've got our acromiodeltoid again, spinodeltoid, triceps brachii, brachialis, and then here we have our forearm muscles. These are actually probably a little more challenging. Extensor carpi radialis. Because these animals are so small, I'm not going to have you differentiate the long and the short heads. Just know extensor carpi radialis. Then we get to extensor digitorum, extender of the digits. This one extends all the digits, so extensor digitorum communis. Then the one next to it extends only the fourth digit. That's, let's see. Extensor digitorum 4, extensor digitorum 5, and then extensor carpi ulnaris. And that's it. Did I miss anything? Do you have any questions? Okay, great. Well, I hope that helps.